Hey everybody, and welcome back. Happy New Year. I hope you enjoyed your holiday. I enjoyed mine. And finally I'm back to enjoy more time with my Clash of Clans family and you guys. So, I was originally planning to talk more about recruiting and management of the clan from like part 2 of the last video. But I have chosen to take another direction. I will come back to recruitment and management of the clan, I promise. But today I will talk about something else. I see a lot of people struggle with targets. And what I mean with this is war. When you go into war, you have maybe players that select their own targets and you see they keep struggling, picking bases they shouldn't pick. Or maybe you as a clan leader struggle to find the perfect targets for them. So I'm gonna help as much as I can to make it easier for you to find the right targets for you or for your clanmates. When you select a base for the player, it's important that you know the player. And I would strongly recommend not to swap troops in the middle of a war. We've all been there. You have chosen a base, or maybe somebody has given you a base, and let's say you normally use hogs and that's what you're good at, and suddenly there comes a member of the clan that says, you know what, the base you've chosen, it's not a hog base, you should not go in with hogs, you should go in with blah blah blah, for example P.E.K.K.A. Smash, or you should try this or try this. I would strongly not recommend doing that. Swapping army makes things a lot harder for you, because then you will go in with something you don't know, and it's much easier going in with something you do know how it works. So stick with what you know. Another thing I will say, almost everyone has one favorite army that they mostly use. I, for example, use a lot of Electro Dragons. I like them. I've always liked them. Electroloon, but I adjust them. And most people have their troop combination that they prefer to use. But we also try to learn different armies. So take into consideration the army that you mainly use when you select your base, because that is where you will be most comfortable. When you look at the base, look firstly on the space between the buildings. Is everything placed closely together, like in this base, or are the buildings scattered all around the base? Because that makes two different approaches, and you should use two totally different armies for those kind of bases. You see this person going in on this base using bowlers, and that is something that I truly get, because he gets a lot of chain reaction. Bowlers hit multiple buildings, as well as Electro Dragons would hit multiple buildings on a base like this, and also Valkyries will do good on a base like this, because they will take down several buildings with the strikes that they push out. Like the lightning from the Electro Dragons will be able to take down 3 or 4 buildings, and bowlers also will be able to do some of the same, and Valkyrie is the same. So when you choose for those type of armies, choose bases that actually takes down multiple buildings at once. Do not take the bases that has long distances between the buildings. If it is far between the buildings, going in with, for example, Electro Dragons will also give you give you a dilemma when it comes to time, because they are slow. So you gotta take into consideration, if your army moves slow or fast, how many are they, and will you be able to get it all? And if you have a base that has buildings all around, you also got to be able to funnel. And I'm not saying that it's not possible to take down a scattered base, not scattered but with buildings all over the place. with Electro Dragons, I just say that it's hard or harder because they move slow and you won't get the chain reaction. So they will take out a building by building instead of taking several buildings at once. So remember that. Another thing you gotta think about is Inferno Towers. They do matter a lot, especially for armies that are, if you have an army that has few troops but they are strong, and not have a lot of troops but they are weaker. Because if you have strong troops but few, you will, or you should try to avoid going in on a base with all single Infernos unless you have a good plan. Why I say this is that single Infernos will kill your troops quicker than pretty much anything there, unless you freeze them. If you have an army that, like Electro Dragons or P.E.K.K.A.s or yeah. So if you can go in on a base that has multi-Infernos, that is much better for those kind of troops. For if you have an army where you go in with a lot of troops, they are weaker, but you have the number, then it's much better to go in on single Infernos, because losing a couple of your troops won't really matter because the army is so big. Then having them take a lot of damage on on the splash damage over time. So you gotta look at the splash damage or the single damage that they get, because that will decide if you get the third star. Also, for bad attackers, you have to consider the placing of the splash damage. So you can actually hit a base with all multi-Infernos without really having an issue using bats. But you gotta look into the placing of the splash damage. So if the buildings or the splash damage, the wizard towers and the scatter shots and the multi-Inferno towers all are placed all over the base, and you won't be able to freeze more than one at a time, you will find it hard to use bats on that type of base. But if you see that a Wiz Tower stands together with a scatter shot and with a multi-Inferno, you can freeze all three at once. You'll get a huge value from that. And maybe you can take out... Sorry, I'm gonna freeze the picture here. Sorry. Yeah, that's for the next video. But anyway. You will get huge value for using bat on a base like that. So just be smart, look at the placing of the splash damage, and if you're able to freeze many at once and you're able to take out like half of the splash damage, you actually can make it work. So read the buildings and the placing of the buildings, and figure out what you actually can take down before going in. What can you funnel, especially if you have hogs? Many things that comes into consideration when you choose an army that you're going in with. So I hope you learned something, maybe something new. I will go deeper into this subject later on, but for now, take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones, take care of your Clash of Clans account, and I will see you later, lovers.